Dear students, today we are here for another lecture. The topic of the today is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Today we will discuss the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. As you all know, this code is introduced by the Government of India to resolve the problem of insolvency. First of all, we should learn the meaning of the insolvency. What do you understand by insolvency? It is very conceptual point. You should be very careful to understand the meaning of the insolvency. Insolvency is a situation, listen carefully, insolvency is a situation in which any firm, any individual, any corporate house is unable to repay their debts to the creditors. For example, if a company borrow from financial institutions like banks and other financial institutions with a promise to repay the debt with some interest in a particular time manner, as you all know that EMIs, and if the company is now unable, if the firm is now unable, if the individual is now unable to pay their debt within time, then it is called the situation is of insolvency. So insolvency is a particular situation in which any company, any firm or any individual is not able to pay back or repay their debt to their creditors. It is very dangerous situation as far as the economy is concerned. Now we will learn that how it is very dangerous for the economic scenario. Insolvency is a very dangerous situation, and listen carefully. You should ask any question regarding to this point. It is very conceptual point. So when insolvency situation arises, what will happen? What will happen to the situation? What will happen to the economy? We should learn here. Say there are so many companies, or as you all know, there are so many companies and so many firms are in India, working in India or abroad. Assume that firm X, Y, Z, A, B, C, they are different firms. They borrow from the different financial institutions, and these financial institutions like different banks lend the money to these firms. Clear? Banks lend the money to these firms, and these firms borrow the money from the banks to invest in their business, to expand their business, to multiply their assets. They want to make profit. When they invest this money, the primary motive is to multiply the profit, but they also provide the employment, and when they earn profit, they also provide the taxes to the Government of India, which is a significant source of revenue for the Government of India. So it is the natural phenomena that banks and other financial institutions lend the money to these companies and firms or any individuals so that they can use these fund for the purpose of the future development. But now it is possibility or not that a situation arises when these firms comes in the situation of financial crisis, and they are not able to repay their debts to the banks and the creditors. This situation is insolvency, and this situation is very, very dangerous for the economy. Why? In the situation of insolvency, the banks faces the crisis of money. The banks and financial institutions faces crisis of money, and when they are facing crisis of money, what will happen to a person who want to take home loan from the bank, who want to take education loan from the bank? They want to take education and home loan from the banks and different types of loans from the banks on a moderate rate, and banks can provide these loans only when they have sufficient amount of money to supply credit in the market. This is the basic of the banking. Banks can supply credit in the market on the adequate rates, appropriate rates, only when they have sufficient fund. But in the situation of insolvency, they don't have sufficient fund because they have lended the money to these companies, firms or individuals who are not in this situation. They are not able, they are unable to pay their debts back to the banks or creditors or financial institutions. Now the bank faces the crisis of the money, and hence the economic faces crisis of credit flow in the market. Some 3 or 4 students of IIT, once they will be owner of themselves. That means they don't want to be a salaried employee. They want that they will be owner of themselves, and they have an innovative idea, and when some innovative idea established, so they can make an startup. As you all know, they can make startups with innovative idea. They have potential. They have the potential to make a startup, to start a startup which is going to provide employment to the thousands of the people of the India. This startup is going to be profitable startup if all will be fine. But what is the initial requirement of the startup? What is the initial requirement of the startup? It is fund. Initial requirement of the startup is fund, and the source of the fund are these banks and financial institutions. And when the source is facing the crisis of money, how can banks and financial institutions provide the credit to the market? You can say, sir, it is a crisis. And if this crisis arises, let us change the ink. If this crisis arises, the tendency of home loan decreases because the banks are lending on high rates. Why? They don't have adequate money to lend. Education loan will be decreased. The tendency of borrowing education loan from the banks will be decreased because the rates of the banks are very high. Parents are not able to bear these expenses of high rates. What will happen? The vision of the government of India is to provide home to everyone, to provide higher education to everyone, so that the human resource development, the process of human resource development can be accelerated. And in this situation of insolvency, the process of the human resource development will be deaccelerated or not. It will be deaccelerated. If the startups or other established industries, not only startups, or other established industries are not able to make funds, to borrow the funds from the banks at an adequate rate, then it will be very dangerous situation in economy or not. It will be a dangerous situation in economy. Whole economy, the mobility of whole economy will be stopped, will be deaccelerated. Hence the insolvency is the greatest, we can say greatest threat as far as the credit supply concept is concerned. Because the source of the credit supply not getting back the money they have lended to the different firms or individuals for various reasons. I think the point is clear to everyone. If you have any problem, you can ask any doubt. If you have any problem, you can ask me, and ask freely. Don't hesitate. The concept of insolvency and the problem created by insolvency is clear or not? So, I think the problem of concept of insolvency and problem created by insolvency is clear to everyone. Now come back to the original point. To sort out this problem, the government makes different type of efforts. Government tried hard to sort out this problem, to minimize this problem, and there are so many acts. There are so many acts called so many acts here. First of all, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act which was introduced. There are so many acts which were earlier. For example, SARFAESI Act. For example, we have SARFAESI Act. Just a minute. Yeah. For example, we have SARFAESI Act, that is Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act, that is called SARFAESI. Another one is the Recovery of the Debt due to the Banks and Financial Institutions Act 1993. The Sikh Industrial Companies Act, popularly called SICA. These are the examples of some acts and some regulations made by the government to combat the situation of insolvency, but we didn't get the effective results. Why? These acts have poor implementation. The implementation process is not good. There are so many loopholes, and that's why these acts were not able to combat the situation of insolvency and bankruptcy. Second point, these acts conflict with each other. They are contradictory. There are conflicts in these acts, and if the act itself are contradictory or have conflicts with each other, different acts have conflicts with each other, how can they give the results? The time consuming procedure. The procedure is very time consuming, and if the procedure of insolvency is very time consuming procedure, then the significancy of the material will be minimized. For example, if you have lended a particular amount to your friend, he said that I will return you with interest in 2 years. He didn't return you. After 25 years, he returned with a nominal interest. Whether this money is important and significant for you, it is more significant when you get the money on time. And if the procedure is time consuming, then there is a necessity to introduce a new law. A new law which can be speeder, which can accelerate the process of insolvency, and hence the IBC was introduced. It was the background for the introduction of Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. It was the background for the introduction of IBC That means Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. I think the point is clear to everyone. If you have any question, you can ask me. Any query? Yes, Sudha. Clear or not? So, we have understand that what is insolvency, the problem created by insolvency, threat of insolvency in the economy, the potential threat of insolvency, why it is so dangerous, and the effort of the government, previous laws, and the drawback of the previous laws, that they are ineffective, they have conflict in one of these laws, and they are time consuming procedure. The procedure is very time consuming. So it was the need of the hour to introduce an amended act which has minimum conflicts or no conflicts with each other. Now, what are the objectives of the IBC? IBC was introduced, and now we should learn the objectives of the IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. There is a difference in insolvency and bankruptcy. In bankruptcy, the legal procedure initiated against the debtor on the plea of the debtor or creditor. Debtor gives an affidavit in the court that I am not able to repay the debt. Please announce me a bankrupt, and design the procedure through which I can repay my debt. Okay. So insolvency is a situation, bankruptcy is the further process. It is a legal process, bankruptcy. Okay. So the objectives of the IBC: number one, to consolidate and amend all existing insolvency laws. All existing insolvency laws should be consolidated so that there will be no conflict between them, and it should be amended according to the situation. IBC fulfill this point. Next, come to the point: to protect interest of creditors, including stakeholders in a company. There are so many stakeholders in the company, and the most important stakeholders are those who invest in the company and buy the shares. If the company has a tendency to take loans, to borrow the loans from financial institutions and not repay them because of poor execution of the company matters, then how the stakeholders trust the companies? And if the stakeholders lose the trust in the companies, then the further investment in the companies will be decreased or not. And if the further investment decreases, economy will be suffers from the poor credit supply, for the poor funds. Hence, the interest of the stakeholders should be protected. In IBC, there are provisions to protect the interest of the stakeholders. Third objective of the IBC is to revive the company in a time-bounded manner. The word time-bounded is very important. Pre-existing laws or time-consuming laws. There are so many loopholes in the laws. There are so many further judicial procedures in the laws. Hence, they are time-consuming. In this law, the boundation of time is very significant feature of IBC. So, company should be revived in a time-bounded manner, and IBC has this unique feature. Now next, to promote entrepreneurship. As I have discussed, what is entrepreneurship? A group of people may start their innovative idea and they will be owner of themselves. If these innovative idea gets proper fund, then we can see the picture that the tendency to achieve a government job or a job will be decreased. The people of India, if the people of India adopted the tendency of entrepreneurship, that means to implement their innovative idea and business sense for the development of themselves, others and the nation, it will be the base, of the development to provide employment. The current government is very keen to accelerate the tendency of entrepreneurship, and it will be decreased if the situation of insolvency continues, and due to situation of insolvency, the financial institutions faces crisis like banks etc. face crisis of money, and there will be no adequate credit supply in the market. It should be accelerate, and IBC has the unique features to accelerate the entrepreneurship tendency. I think the point is clear. Next, to get the necessary relief to the creditors and consequently increases the credit supply in the economy. Who are the creditors? Banks, financial institutions. They will get the necessary relief when they get back their money, lended money from the companies and other firms or any individuals. If they are relieved, the credit supply in the economy will be accelerated, will be increases or not. I think you are going to be in the ecosystem of this situation of IBC. That means I think my point is clear to everyone. You are easily understand the situation. I am repeating, if any query or any question, you can ask me freely. Okay, let us continue. Now, what is the code and what are the procedures? In this code, various institutions are created to facilitate the process of insolvency. What are these institutions? Number one, insolvency professionals, IPs, very important. Insolvency professionals are those persons who are registered in insolvency professional agencies. They are the expert in the insolvency matters. They know how the problem of the insolvency can be sought out. They manage the whole situation. They manage the whole process. They administer the whole process, and most importantly, they manage the process of the assets of the debtors and provide information for creditors to assist them in decision making. Creditors wants a proper information about the assets of the debtors, and the assets of the debtors will be managed by the IPs, insolvency professionals. They provide this information to the creditors, and in this way the whole procedure is facilitated by the insolvency professionals. So they are very important. Second, insolvency professional agencies. These agencies provide the insolvency professionals. That means they register themselves in insolvency professionals with a proper competency test, with a proper experience. Hence, they are interlinked. It is the agency in which insolvency professionals are registered. And who are the insolvency professionals? I am repeating slowly. I am proceeding slowly so that you can understand the matter very clear. No doubts should be arise in your mind. And if there are any doubt, please ask me freely. So insolvency professionals are a specialist cadre, they are licensed professionals, and they are created as an administrator of the resolution process. They are registered in insolvency professional agencies. They manage the whole process. They provide the information of the assets of the debtor to the creditors to assist them in the whole process. Next, NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. You all know that it is a tribunal for the company matters. IBC has the provision that whether a firm, limited liability company, or an individual who are not able to pay their debt to the financial institution, that means trapped in the situation of insolvency, and in the IBC, NCLT has the jurisdiction. It is the jurisdiction authority over the companies and limited liability partnership. That means NCLT has no jurisdiction over individuals. But as far as the limited liabilities partnership companies and limited liabilities partnership, NCLT has to play its role. So the third institution in insolvency and bankruptcy code is NCLT. Now proceed. Fourth one is Debt Recovery Tribunal, DRT. I think you have heard it. Debt recovery tribunals are the tribunals for the recovery of the debt, but they have jurisdiction over individuals and partnerships firms other than limited liability partnership. We have discussed the difference between partnership firms and limited liabilities partnership in our previous classes. So there is a clear discrimination, there is a clear distinguishment over the matter of the control. As far as the DRT is concerned, it has the jurisdiction only on the individuals and limited liability partnership firms, while NCLT has the jurisdiction over companies and limited liability partnership. It should be very clear as far as the issue of companies and limited liability partnership is concerned, the jurisdiction is of NCLT, and when it comes to our individuals and partnership firms other than the limited liability partnership, it is DRT who is responsible in insolvency and bankruptcy code. Next, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, IBBI. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, it has 10 members from finance, law and RBI. Fifth institution is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. It has 10 members from finance, law and RBI. It is the apex body. As far as the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, it is the apex body, that means the supreme body to manage the whole process, to administer the whole process. It sets the infrastructure like IPs, IUs. What are IUs? We are going to discuss here. information utilities, IPs we have discussed, insolvency professionals. The responsibility of IBBI to set up the infrastructure like IPs and IUs, it is the apex body, it should be remembered. And now come to the sixth institution. It is the information utilities. What are the information utilities? They are the professional organizations registered in IBBI, professional organizations registered in IBBI that will collect financial information, authenticate them, that will collect the financial information, then IU authenticate them. That means whether they are right or wrong, it should be authenticated or not. It authenticate them, store them, and then provide access to the resolution professionals. Then provide these information to the resolution professionals, that is IPs, creditors, and other stakeholders who plays an important role in insolvency and bankruptcy code. So, it should be very clear that the role of the information utility is very important. The collection of the information, the storage of the information and the authentication of the information, and then it provides the access to the IPs to that information, which will pass them to the creditor. In this way, the whole information regarding to any debtor, regarding to any assets of the debtor is processed. First of all IU, then IPs, insolvency professionals, and then to the creditors, so that creditor can make their mind for the further procedure. I think the point is clear to everyone, but I am going to repeat it for those students who are commenting in the mobile, in my mobile. That's it, please repeat it. So I am repeating. Listen carefully. Various institutions which are created by insolvency and bankruptcy code. Number one, insolvency professionals. Who are the insolvency professionals? Insolvency professionals are the professional cadre registered in insolvency professional agencies. That means these agencies provide the insolvency professionals. These insolvency professionals get the information from IUs. These insolvency professionals get the information from IUs, and these IUs, just a second. Let us see. Okay. IUs get the information storage, authenticate them, and provide access to IPs. Understand the process. IU get the information utilities get the information, store them, authenticate them, then provide to IPs. IP pass them to creditors. Or in this way, it facilitates the whole process, and now the creditors has the authenticated information regarding to the assets of the debtors, and now the creditors are in the position to take decision then how to revive the company of a debtor. I think the point is clear to everyone. Okay, so these are insolvency professionals. They are registered in IPA, insolvency professional agencies. As far as the NCLT is concerned, NCLT has the jurisdiction over companies and limited liability companies. As far as the DRTs are concerned, they has the jurisdiction over individuals and partnership firms other than the limited liability companies. Apex body is IBBI, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. 10 members consist of 10 members from finance, law and RBI. It setting up the infrastructure of IPs and IUs. It is the main function of debt of IBBI. And next, information utilities. They are the professional organizations registered in RBI. They will get the financial information, collect the financial information, store them, and then authenticate them, and then provide the access to the IPs, insolvency professionals. Now come to the next point. What is the procedure? What is the procedure defined given in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? First of all, very important point, that it is the creditor control process. That the whole process is creditor control process. That means the process can be controlled by the creditor, not the debtor, as in the previous laws are concerned. As in the previous laws, the debtors initiate the procedure, while in Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, IBC, it is the creditor control process. It is the time bounded process. How the process initiate? Creditor can initiate the insolvency resolution process against debtor. Who can initiate? Creditor. The IP administrates the process. The professional provides the financial informations regarding to the debtor to the creditors, about the assets of the debtors to the creditors, and they manage the debtors' assets. There are 180 days which are fixed in this process. The process should be completed within 180 days. That means generally 6 months. The whole process should be completed within 180 days, and during this period, no legal action can be taken against the debtor. If you are going in the insolvency process, the debtors are protected from any legal actions in this period. Now, what will happen again? What will happen next? Who take the decision of insolvency? A committee of creditors will be formed by IPs, insolvency professionals. As now you can see what the important role IPs are going to be play. The committee is formed by IPs, in which financial creditors are involved who lend the money to the companies. There are so many financial institutions who lend the money a particular company, and a committee of that particular lending financial institutions has been is going to be set up by IPs. And what is the revival process? This committee can go for rescheduling of payments. If this committee go for rescheduling of the payments, they can go. And the other option is liquidation of the assets. What are the two options? Number one, rescheduling the payment, and the other option is liquidation. Rescheduling means pay after some time. If you have, if they realize that the company has the potential, or there are some very genuine reasons, and the company will be able in future to repay their debts, they can go for rescheduling payments. And if they realize that the company will not be able to pay their debt, they can go for liquidation of the assets. But any of this decision will be taken only after 75% of the creditors, minimum 75% of the creditors should be agree on this decision. That means a good majority, 3/4 majority. 75% of the creditors should be agree on this decision. So in this way, the revival process proceeds. First option is rescheduling of the payments, and the other option is the liquidation of the asset. What do you mean by liquidation? Selling the assets of the debtor. Liquidation means selling the assets of the debtor. For start, this process will be completed in 180 days, that means 6 months. 90 days extension can be given. In this code, there is a provision of 90-day extension. But this 90-day extension for the large companies and corporate houses, as far as the startups and the small companies, the whole process should be completed within 90 days and only 45 days extension to be given. That means 270 days, 180 plus 90, 270 days is the maximum time period in which the process should be completed. In this way, insolvency decisions can be taken. Now come to the significance. As we see, that is the act give more powers to the creditors, while the previous acts provides the powers to the debtor. Hence they stretch the process, time consuming process. In this, we have more power to the creditors. Easier exit. The process can be wrapped up fast. It is very easier way. Speeder and enhance the ease of doing of business, not case, ease of doing of business. We know that the World Bank published a report of ease of doing business. How easily a businessman can do business in your country. In this report, the World Bank provides a ranking of different countries on the basis of how easily a businessman can do a business in your country, and the insolvency is the main hurdle, and insolvency resolution, time consuming insolvency resolution was the main hurdle for that. So if the time consuming insolvency resolution is compacted within a time period of 270 days, then the ease of doing business concept will be enhanced or not. I think the point is clear to everyone. If the market is ready to credit supply, and any barrier in the credit supply will be resolved in 270 days through insolvency and bankruptcy code, then it will enhance the ease of doing business. I think the whole discussion is clear to everyone. In this code, there are some amendments in 2021. We will discuss these amendments in our later classes. Any question? Okay, thank you so much. एक बार दिखा दो यार, सही बना।